Hello, and thank you for tuning in. For 3 weekends in January 2021, Lopez Bookshop hosted Hygge in the Heart, featuring Lopez Island authors. As the organizer Nikita Palmasani explained, Hygge is a Danish word for a mood of coziness and comfort. So what's more cozy than being read to on a winter night? I read on that first night with Iris Graville and Bill Johnson. Some people who missed the event asked if it had been recorded. Understandably, on that first night, Nikita had lots of tasks to manage, and recording went by the wayside. So I recorded this reading for those who weren't able to attend. I'm reading an excerpt from my memoir, Hiking Naked, A Quaker Woman's Search for Balance. The memoir is set in Steichen, a remote village at the end of Lake Chelan in north-central Washington. My husband Jerry and I and our then 13-year-old twins, Matt and Rachel, lived there from 1994 to 1996. They sought adventure. I yearned for clarity about my work. Now, if you haven't been to Steichen, this first excerpt will help you picture it. Steichen, translated as the way through, once was a passageway for Skagit and Salish Indians through the North Cascades of Washington state. Later, highways were blasted through parts of the mountain range along Lake Chelan, but none of them ever made it the lake's 55-mile length to the community at the end. Today, a more accurate description of Steichen might be the way away. Most people get up lake on the Lady of the Lake, a commercial passenger-only ferry that makes one trip daily in the summer. The Lady sails 4 times a week in spring and fall, but in the winter it runs only on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Depending on whether you catch the boat at the lake's midway mark at Fields Point or at its beginning in the town of Chelan, it takes 2.5 to 4 hours to reach Steichen. Some opt for a half-hour float plane trip. The hardy take a full day over National Park and Forest Service trails. Telephone lines from the Down Lake world never made it to Steichen, and there aren't any cell towers either. Most interaction among Steichen's 80 year-round residents takes place face-to-face. Contact with the rest of the world is by mail, and now, for those who have satellite dishes, by email. A single public telephone for outgoing calls only haltingly relays voices by satellite when communication is urgent. The following excerpts from Hiking Naked give you an idea of what Hygge is like in Steichen. And it tends to come a little bit earlier there than on Lopez Island. Rain pounded our metal roof the night before Halloween. Sometime while we slept, the temperature dropped and we woke to an inch of fresh snow. Just the day before, the kids had raked fallen maple leaves into a dome and jumped into the cushioning pile over and over until the day's sunshine faded. Now the mound of red and gold was capped with white. "Wow, look outside," Matt hollered to anyone who was awake. Minutes later, he and Rachel bounded down the stairs in snowsuits and sweaters. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Out in the snow," they both shouted. "Well, what about breakfast?" "Later." By the time the kids finished granola and yogurt and bundled up again for Jerry to take them to school, another 1.5 inches of snow had accumulated. Now, with the electricity sputtering on and off as the continuing snowfall weighted down power lines, I offered silent thanks for this respite from the demands of a job, a career. The snow promised me time to do the turning inward I knew I needed, but had denied myself for so long. My certainty about what I was supposed to be doing in my life seemed as wobbly as the candles flickering on the table. Fat snowflakes floated past the windows, settling on the growing mounds in the front yard. The wind blew some of the powder onto the front porch. Here I followed the rhythm of feeding the wood stove and lighting candles and kerosene lamps between the electricity shutdowns. I timed my use of water and opening the refrigerator for the minutes the power returned. Someday I might curse this inconvenience, but today the force, slowed pace was a gift. The cold and snow seemed to make the stars more brilliant, the sun brighter, the trees taller, and the mountains even more majestic than usual. However, 5 feet of snow on the ground and ice dangling from tree branches brought challenges that helped answer summer tourists' most common question: what do you do all winter? One morning, after stripping the beds and carrying an overflowing laundry basket to the unheated outbuilding behind the house, I found icy slush in the bottom of the washing machine. Another day, when I couldn't get the gas range to ignite, Jerry discovered ice blocking the air vent on the propane tank and spent the rest of the day thawing it out so we could cook. And though we'd mastered the Stehekin way of buying groceries, a list and a blank check mailed to Safeway at the end of Lake Chelan, the winter decrease of boat runs and mail service required adjustments to menu planning and food ordering. Throughout the fall, record snowfall kept us busy. In mid-January, we had high hopes of fresh powder for cross-country skiing with our friends, Nancy and Greg Ewart and family, from Lopez Island. Stehekin's unique microclimate conspired that weekend, though, with precipitation in the form of rain, not snow. We took refuge in a snow cave a friend had built, the frigid Stehekin River gurgling past a few feet away. "This is so cool," Greg crowed as his family and ours sipped hot chocolate in the cozy shelter. "You guys are so lucky to live in Stehekin." "Yep, we are," I said. Later that night, after all the kids were in bed, we 4 adults lingered over wine in the warmth of our living room. Conversation turned to our plans after we'd leave Stehekin. "I think you guys would love it on Lopez," Greg said. "We're giving it serious thought," Jerry said. "Just have to work out a few things like jobs, housing, little stuff like that. But there is a lot that's appealing about the island." Jerry picked up one of the juggling clubs Greg and the kids had been practicing with earlier. "Seems like it's got many of the things we love about Stehekin, plus some of what's missing, like a high school." "I can't picture the kids going to a city school with over 1,000 students," I said. "A high school with just 100 seems much better after their time in the little Stehekin school." "It would be great to have them at Lopez," Greg said as he pulled 2 more clubs from his duffel bag. "Well, they're only halfway through 7th grade," I said. "We've got time to get clear about where we'll go next." We fell into silence, watching Greg twirl all 3 clubs over his head. So thanks for listening. Just a reminder that Hiking Naked is available wherever books are sold, including Lopez Bookshop. And I'm also happy to announce that my next book is coming out in spring 2022. It's called Writer in a Life Vest, Essays from the Salish Sea. And the collection includes pieces about my year as writer in residence on the Washington State Ferry Inter-Island route and how the climate crisis affects the Salish Sea. Well, I hope wherever you are that you are feeling lots of coziness and comfort in these winter Hygge days. Thanks again for tuning in.